All right, it is Way Up with Angela Yee. I'm Angela Yee, and Chella is here.
It's your girl, Chella H.
Hey.
H.
Mano is here.
New Mano.
Hey, Mano. All right, and let's get into some Yee tea. Now, Rolling Stone has published an open letter to Sean Combs from singer-songwriter Tiffany Red. And she is basically named in Cassie's paperwork also. She's a Grammy-winning songwriter. She's worked with some really high-profile people, right? Like Zendaya, Joe Jonas, Tamar Braxton, Jason Derulo. She's a close friend of Cassie's, and she talks about the things that she witnessed with Sean Combs and with Cassie. In this open letter, she talked about him not liking a song called Loyal that they wrote, which was about her pain. And she talked about an incident where Cassie and Diddy were out. They came back to the house. He was visibly intoxicated, and he called her, he was yelling, "Emotional singing bitch, there you are," and telling her to get up and saying, "Tell your girl she wants some birthday D. I flew all the way from Miami. She gonna get this birthday D." She said, "You were visibly angry that she didn't want that from you. I was terrified. She doesn't have to have sex with you if she doesn't want to. You just kept screaming, she gonna get this." And all I kept thinking about was how before you came to get her and she was sober, she kept telling us she didn't want to go with you. And then she talks about the two of them driving off on a golf court into the night. And she said she was terrified and she had never seen Cassie sedated the way that she was during that time.
Dang.
Yes. And so, you know, when it rains, it pours. And a lot of people are now telling their story. And she says that she continues to be close friends with Cassie. And she's happy that Cassie was empowered enough to be able to tell her story.
So she wrote this letter to him.
Yes. And Rolling Stone published it. But she just talked about feeling traumatized from the whole situation. And 50 Cent is planning to do this Diddy documentary with the proceeds to benefit sexual assault victims. G-Unit film and television proceeds, he said, will go to these people. He also shared a new clip with an interview with former Bad Boy artist Mark Curry. You know, Mark Curry did a whole book called Dancing with the Devil.
I understand women holding some things in and then speaking later, but I don't understand men, though.
Well, he wrote a book.
When?
It was called Dancing with the Devil way back then.
Long time ago?
Yes. You want to hear something? So the reason I even met Charlemagne was because he reached out to me to interview Mark Curry. I think Mark Curry had came to do an interview with Wendy Williams and something happened. And then he was like, "Would you want to interview Mark Curry? He has his book." I didn't know anything about it. But that was the first time I believe that he even reached out to me was about this. So I will say this. It's not that Mark Curry has never said anything before. It's just that sometimes when somebody's powerful, people don't pay attention.
Right.
I'm just saying a lot of dudes going into this exposing they homies or they old homies now. I'm seeing a lot of that now. A lot of men doing that.
But you know, when you do things, if you really did them, and because we don't know, these are still, some of them are still allegations. And if somebody exposes you, you can't be mad at that. You got to be mad at yourself.
Depending on who's talking and how you looking at it. I mean, everybody done something to somebody.
You know, what, Chella?
I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, as a man, it's a way you should move. That's
as
female
a man, I'm
stuff.
speaking on the men, man.
But if he came out before and made the book, it didn't matter as much, I guess, at first. That's what you're saying.
I mean,
right?
but if you look it up, it's really old. And, so I will say that, because this is when I worked at Sirius that it came out. All right. Well, Nicki Minaj, get ready for Pink Friday, too. And we're going to talk more about that later. But a lot of people are going to Gag City, so we'll get into that. But in the meantime, Under the Radar is coming up next. That's where we discuss stories that are not necessarily in the headlines. They are flying under the radar. It's Way Up with Angela Yee.